Hello guys, this is Trevor of MTG Radio, and this is the first installment of an EDH Rules series that I'm going to be doing here for YouTube. This installment is going to be going over constructing mana bases for EDH decks, because there are a lot of stipulations that you have to follow in EDH that you don't have to follow in other formats. The general we're going to use as an example in this case is Sen's Triplets. Sen's Triplets cost 2, and then the Esper Shard, or white, blue, black. So 5 mana in total. Now, these lands I have laid out here are acceptable lands to play in a Sen's Triplets EDH deck. You could play the Tri-Land Arcane Sanctum, you could play Creeping Tar Pit, Celestial Colonnade, an assortment of the basic lands, Plains, Island, or Swamp, as well as any of the fetch lands or colorless lands, including the Panoramas. Now, the issue with EDH is that no card in your deck, including your lands, can include any mana symbol that isn't found in your general's casting cost. That is why these lands are acceptable, but other lands that we'll get to in a little bit aren't. One thing to note, though, is cards like Jund Panorama or Scalding Tarn, while they refer to the basic land mountains, do not make red mana. Therefore, they can be played with Sen's Triplets. Now, as you can see, the Jund Panorama is in a different sleeve, and I don't have it in this deck. But if you're running short on fixers, or you just want to throw it in there, it is completely viable. Now for cards that aren't so viable, on the other hand, we have Basic Mountain, Basic Forest, as well as Stomping Ground. Now with Stomping Ground, it's a little more notable, a little easier to observe, that you can't play it in a Sen's Triplets EDH deck. Because on Stomping Ground it actually has tap, add red or green to your mana pool. The one thing about basic lands, though, is they both have them on their card. It's just not written there. It's part of the rules. So this is kind of something that trips up a lot of players, and I mean, it doesn't seem like it would be a big deal, especially in the case of Sen's Triplets, because you're not going to randomly want to put mountains or forests in your Sen's Triplets deck. But this does become a little bit more of an issue, or actually a lot more of an issue, when it comes to the colorless Eldrazi legends, such as Kozilek, Butcher of Truths. So, let's just flip Sen's Triplets over, and we'll imagine it as Kozilek, seeing as that set's not even out, and I don't own one of those yet. This is Kozilek. In a Kozilek deck, because Kozilek is colorless, you wouldn't be able to play any of the basic lands, because all of the basic lands have the colored mana symbols in their text box, or at least according to the rules they do. But you would be able to play lands such as Quicksand, Wrath's Edge, Makeko at the Center of the Sea, and Springjack Pasture. These lands would all be completely viable. So would any of the panoramas, such as Jund Panorama or Esper Panorama, as well as any of the fetch lands. Though the issue with the fetch lands is you really wouldn't be able to fetch anything, so I would say no-go on the fetch lands. These cards, on the other hand, this is what your mana base would probably end up looking like. You would have an assortment of a bunch of different colorless, non-basic lands. So, that's general overall rules for mana base building for EDH. This has been Trevor of MTG Radio, and thanks for tuning in.